Okay, let's go over what we learned in the readings. So I'm going to create a new file, call it m6notes.js, update this. Okay, I already have, so make sure you've updated your HTML. Let's just test it, console log m6notes, and then refresh. M6 noticed. Okay, so I'm going to just notes. Okay, so here we're looking at two functions. We are going to look at set timeout and set interval. Both of them take two arguments. The first one is a function, right? So we can declare an anonymous function, and then we give it a time. So let's just say 3 seconds for the moment. Right? I'm going to just comment out set interval, and let's just see console.log set timeout, just to see it. Okay, so let's just see that. 3 seconds later, boom, right? So a couple of things. If we put a console log start, refresh, we see start, we see M6 notes, which is at the end of our page, and then this happens. So we run through line by line, this function gets called, and we continue on, and then 3 seconds later this block of code happens. So this does not stop the rest of the code from happening, like say prompt, where we needed to get something back before the code continued, right? So, okay. And then just to note, we can declare the anonymous function here, anonymous meaning we just don't give it a name, or we can define a function, just call it log, because that's all we're doing, console log set timeout function, and then set time out, we can just call that or pass it the name of the function, which, remember, returns the function definition. So we don't want to call it, we want to pass it the function definition, and then let's say 5 seconds. So we should see this happen after 3 seconds, this after 5 seconds. So first we see line 5, then we see line 22, then we'll see line 9, and then line 14. Right? Line 5, line 22, line 9, line 14. Okay. Now, we could set a another set time out here, and then we'd have a loop that continued on forever. But we have a function to do that specifically. So let's just do this. This is set timeout. So let's get rid of that. Let's just comment that all out. And now let's look at set interval, which is the one we'll be using, focusing on more specifically in this module. Okay, so here we can again pass it a function. You'll see this either way is fine. Right, let's do 100 milliseconds now. Right, either way is fine. But, you know, it may be just a little more easier to read like this, you know, creating a function that we're then going to pass to it. Okay, so let's just say console log, and let's just say click. Right, so here, instead of defining a function, we're just going to pass it log again, and then let's see what happens. Right, so now we have this click happening every 100 milliseconds. Right, so now that we've started it, right, because next module we'll be looking at something called request animation frame, which is a function meant for animation, request animation frame. Here we're exploring various temporalities within code. So we're going to use set interval as a way of introducing animation. But the powerful thing about set interval is you can choose the time of iteration. Okay. So the last thing just to point out here, which you'll remember from the reading, is now that we have this interval going on forever, we may want to stop it at some point, right? So let's create a function, stop interval, right? And let's set time out. I'm just going to declare it a function in here at the moment. And what we want to do is clear interval, right? And pass it the name of the variable. So here we haven't done that. So to stop it, we need to declare a variable and assign the set interval function to that variable. Then here we have something we can refer to. And then after this function, let's set it for 5 seconds. Oops, I need a comma there. And let's just see how this works. Oh, so set interval. Now I will need to call this stop interval. So we'll call this function. It will call the set timeout, and that will happen 5 seconds later. So here we should see click going, and then at 50 it should stop, which it does. Because here, now I guess I could have just put the set timeout right there, but so that function was a little redundant, but still the point is made. So we will be exploring set interval. Set timeout is there to use, perhaps to stop it. Various other things you can do, one-offs. But we will be, as we're moving into animation, we will be exploring set interval this module.